Hello, Dr. Kshamalan.
Hello, Miss Melinda.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. A bit nervous, but then okay.
We are free to talk. We'll just have your bio first and then you can go with your presentation.
Yeah, how can I collapse this down one? I can't see you, just the upper part and my part. Can I collapse? Yeah, good.
Is it okay?
Yes. So I just want to quickly see.
Dr. Kshamalan is a serial licensed psychologist in Dubai with 20 plus years of experience in counseling, psychotherapy, and teaching. She leads the counseling and well-being department at GEMS Modern Academy, specializing in child psychology, behavior intervention, and positive psychology. A speaker on restorative practices, she is deeply committed to supporting children's mental health and resilience. That was a great bio. Now we can start with your presentation.
Okay. So is my PowerPoint visible, Miss Melinda? Yes, so thank you very much, Melinda, for this kind introduction. So, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you from Dubai, UAE. And I'm here to talk about religious coping and resilience in women, navigating life stresses through faith. Now, this is being into the mental health field. I have been talking about working with people on coping mechanisms, but this form of coping mechanism I'm actually talking about for the first time. So, anyway, so looking forward to. Uh, so, this is about me, which I can surely skip as she has done the needful. Yes, this is my workspace, which I love it, and I actually work there. Now, before I start, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to quickly, I'm sure all of you are carrying your mobile phones, quickly scan this QR code and think of your best childhood memory, which actually makes you happy even today, which actually brings smile on your face. So I am going to share that screen with you. So I'm sure all of you know when you click on this, you will. So this is how you have to. You can write your responses, your best childhood memory. As you write, I'll be able to share it with everyone. I'm just going to spend only uh, maximum 2 minutes on this so that I'm cognizant of the time. Otherwise, I will post this on the resources for everyone to see. Right now, I will move ahead. So, giving you 1 minute to post your comments here, post your responses, talking about your best childhood memory that brings a lot of happiness and smile to you. Since I did not see any response, so I added my comment here. And I think I'll wait for a few seconds and go back. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you put this comment, you need to publish it. Okay, so I think I will go ahead with my presentation. Since unfortunately I did not get to see any responses there. So, why am I talking about coping mechanism and why am I talking about religious coping? There is certainly a reason. And, these days, mental health, sorry. So, working on mental health is kind of become like an increasingly important, and it is mandatory due to the alarming statistics and the rising prevalence of mental health concerns. World Health Organization, according to them, actually 1 in 8 people globally are living with a mental health condition, disorder, with conditions like depression and anxiety. And as you can see, the data here, it is a 2024 data, that in a given year, around 4.4 people suffer from anxiety disorder and 4% people suffer from depression. The rest of the severe mental health disorders certainly are a little lower, but you can understand the prevalence of anxiety and stress and depression. So that is the reason we need to understand what are life stressors, and once we understand, we'll be able to deal with it. So life stressors, right from daily stressors like getting into traffic jams, or getting meeting a deadline, or like acute stressors like going for an interview, or like a public speaking, or some chronic stressors like dealing with your illness, going for financial loss, to traumatic stressors like severe stress, which actually shake you up and cause emotional distress in you, and that you find it difficult to deal with. Now, these are some kind of self explanatory things. I'm sure in today's world, everybody knows the effect of stress on our physical health, right from migraines, headaches, to gastro issues like nausea, stomach issues, because it weakens our immune system, to severe issues like cardiovascular problems, the heart issues, which actually are becoming too prevalent now. So, how do we deal with stresses? Now, stress is something which is inevitable. Am I right to say this? Because stress is something which is actually in my life, in your life. Stress is something which we cannot avoid. So even people who are dealing with stress issues, they too have to undergo with stress. So how do we deal with this stress? It is very important to understand them and find an appropriate coping mechanism for better management of this stress. Now you see people who are from the psychology background, from mental health background, will understand most of these coping mechanisms. But for those who are not, very quickly, I want to talk briefly about, like problem focused coping, which directly addresses stress sources through strategies like problem solving and time management. Problem solving techniques are something which involves identifying solutions to the issues that cause stress. Emotion focused strategies like managing emotional response through the ongoing problem. Seeking emotional support, connecting with people, or finding people who can deal with emotions. And these days, which is becoming like daily practice, mindfulness, meditation, journaling, physical activities, having a structured routine, all these are forms of coping mechanism, and there are many more. But today I am going to focus on actually the religious coping mechanism, which is something, as I said, I'm using it for the first time, and I will share my story with you to know how did it come to me that I should work on something on religious coping. Before that, ladies and gentlemen, some reflection time. I'm sure all of us, as I said, go through some stress. Again, there is a QR code for you, and I'm sure, oh, I need to share this. 1 minute, please. Yes, I think you can see the QR code. So once you scan the QR code, I want you to give 30 seconds of silently reflection time on when you actually experienced a significant life stress or a challenge. Please pause and think what coping mechanism is something that you use during that time. And I've shared a Mentimeter link here, which I'm going to show you once again. I hope I get some responses this time and that we can show that what major people are using, what coping mechanism most of the people are using. So once again, back to so ladies and gentlemen, uh, thank you very much. I can see some response. As it comes, you will see a cloud of coping mechanisms coming up here. And I can see already three, four of them. That's really nice. Encouraging to see some responses. And six responses. So there are three options. If you feel you use only one coping mechanisms, always when you get stressed out, is the meditation that helps you. Please do write one. If you think music, going for a walk, any of these things helps you, please put that there. So again, I'll wait for at least 1 minute for this to have more responses. So, ladies, can we have some more responses here? All you need to just scan the QR code, which I had put earlier. If you have missed it, shall I go back and show you the QR code once again? Yes. Please scan this QR code, put your coping mechanism, and I will share with everyone. I can see some hearts coming up, a lot of emojis coming up. That means you are there, and happy to see that. But I wish some more responses here. Okay. So let me go back.
Dr. Kshama, can you please share the QR link again so that
Yes,
it's
sure,
part
sure.
of the
Yes. Melinda, is it visible? Okay, so I will quickly look at the responses once again and then proceed further. Okay, so fair, very good. Yoga, music, meditation, nature. Nature, I'm sure it means to spend time with nature, journaling. Okay, so please keep sending your response. And once this cloud is full, I will share it in the resources and I will go back to my presentation. So thank you, ladies. Wish some more responses though. Anyway, okay. So here I am. So we were talking about coping mechanisms, and I can see some of them came up. And the main thing that is the focus of today is talking about religious coping mechanism. Now, what is religious coping mechanism? Let me share a personal story here. Um, I had one of my sisters um, married her daughter. It was a big fat Indian wedding, and everybody looked forward to have that girl go for a wonderful life. But unfortunately, it was a wrong decision, and within few days, not even a month, the couple went for a divorce. While everybody was very sad, the whole family were very worried about the girl. It was me who was more worried about my sister, because I knew she's a person who is generally a very anxious person. She's a person who gets stressed very easily. She's a person who finds very difficult to cope up with any kind of stressors. And I was amazed, or rather shocked, to see how beautifully she coped with this situation, and she was able to overcome, and she actually bounced back beautifully. And that it kept me thinking, what is it that made her cope so well? She had indulged herself into Reiki, into Hoponopo techniques, which I am not very clear on. So these modalities, and of course, she has started uh, getting into kind of coping with religion, religious coping, and getting involved into a lot of spiritual practices. And here also, I saw some colleagues with whom I work going through some kind of stressors, like uh, all of a sudden surgery, going through cancer treatment. Some of them lost their loved ones, or kind of going for a divorce. And then when I spoke to them, I realized that all of them are actually into some kind of religious coping method. So I researched a bit, and I realized, is there something like religious coping or not? Honestly, for me, it was a new term. I didn't know anything about it earlier. And when I researched, this is about 2 years back, when I researched, I realized there is certain amount of research gone into religious coping, and there are people who have worked on this and have kind of established it. So it was Kenneth Bergman in 1997 who has actually done extensive research on religious coping. And according to him, that religious coping is not about visiting to religious institutions like temples, churches, mosque, or getting into religious prayers. It's about using faith to find meaning, leaning on a higher power, and maintaining a spiritual connection to get support when things are difficult, when actually it's a challenging time for you. Lot of other people have also done research on religious coping, like Koenig et al., and all of them found that it has helped these people. So religious practices are not just a source of spiritual guidance, but it is a significant tool people use to cope with their life stresses. You know, so uh, there are certainly benefits people had seen, and that's why so much research has gone. So actually, uh, religious coping provide meaning in times of difficulty, which helps women manage their stress more effectively. And how does it happen? What does actually meaning means here? So religious practices provide meaning during difficult times by offering a spiritual framework that helps individual make sense of their experiences, find purpose in their struggle, and foster emotional resilience. So actually this can provide a sense of connection to something greater than oneself, fostering hope and inner strength. And also, this religious teaching often promote a positive reinterpretation, like positive reframing of challenges, helping women find growth or lessons in adversity rather than seeing the situation as purely negative. So, religious beliefs often provide explanations for suffering and like how like such as viewing it as a test of faith or a part of a divine plan or a pathway to spiritual growth. So this helped them reframe their challenges as meaningful rather than totally purposeless. This can lead to positive reinterpretation of stresses, enabling women to view difficult situations as opportunities for growth rather than negative experiences. Now, faith also gives meaning women a sense of hope and purpose, which is crucial for emotional regulation during tough times. You know, religious practices often offer a sense of purpose, a direction during times of crisis by encouraging individuals to see their struggles in the context of a larger spiritual journey. So, not only thinking that this is just, God is punishing me or God has abandoned me, and that is why I'm going through this. This actually perspective motivates them to persevere and remain hopeful in the face of adversity. Now, I was quite, last 3 days I was in a training on ACT, that is acceptance and commitment therapy. And I realized that the person who was conducting this training showed a three waves of therapies, saying that cognitive behavior therapy and other therapies are now like wave 2 therapies or wave 1, and the newest one according to them was ACT therapy. And what she said, that there is faith coming up in it, which is the latest form of therapy. So it made me feel so good that I have already started researching a bit on faith. Another important thing that these religious practices do is building resilience through social network. So the role of community is very, very important here, because um, uh, communities play a huge role in religious coping. Women often, you see, find comfort, strength through the social network formed within their faith-based communities. I'm sure you have come across this, because I do have witnessed this myself, and how they try to derive support for each other in their religious communities. And actually, uh, not only this, but participating into communal prayers, religious services, ritual helps individual, especially women, feel connected to others who share their faith and values, giving them a sense of belonging. You know, so not only the importance of belonging, but how being a part of this larger group with shared beliefs can reduce the feeling of isolation and enhance resilience. Now, emotional reassurance um, also is kind of practical support, where whenever it is needed, it could be a daily help in a daily task, or it could be a moral support at time of extremely difficult situation. So social support is very important. Now, religious rituals that are practiced certainly are very powerful. And how they are powerful? Because these important of rituals like prayer, meditation, or attending these services create structure and routine. These practices provide a sense of stability and calming down at the time of stress. Rituals actually, if you see, rooted in religious traditions where women focus on the present moment, thereby fostering mindfulness, which automatically reduces anxiety. Now, engaging in such practices can actually provide grounding, a space for reflection, and a reminder for their inner strength. So, how much time I have? Accordingly, I have to rush. Yes. So, spiritual empowerment. Now, certain things I will skip. Yes. So, when religious coping, I'm talking so much. So, there are two forms of religious coping. This is positive, there is positive and negative. Now, positive religious coping is all this while I was talking, but negative religious coping is something uh, that doesn't do good. They're not able to cope well. They're not able to emotionally actually stabilize themselves when they think that God is punishing them and God has left them, abandoned them. So both of them have got their psychological outcomes. I will quickly come and very briefly talk about my research. You must have seen that in the bracket I put ongoing research, because it is certainly not a research which I can like come on a conclusion. So I was talking in the beginning. So around 12 women colleagues and friends were part of this small study. The sample size was too small to conclude any kind of this research work, and it includes all kind of life stresses within my colleagues that I had seen going for cancer treatment, major brain surgeries, losing their loved ones, going for divorce, and so on. So two, as I had spoken earlier about Perment and Kenneth, so he had come up with RCOPE, that is a religious coping scale, and another was brief resilience scale. So what I could see when I had taken data from these 12 ladies, I found there is a positive correlation between religious coping and resilience. And research shows that these women who engage into positive religious coping strategies certainly tend to exhibit higher level of resilience, particularly when dealing with life stresses and some kind of traumas. Now, this relationship, after researching, I realized that Levine in 2009 has done a research, and he came up that these practices not only help them find solace to women, but also provide them a framework for emotional resilience, allowing them to cope more effectively and especially for long-term stress. So this was my research, and I quickly want to just summarize it in a couple of sentences, that what exactly this research I feel was able to say. So, as you can see on the screen as well, that women find religious practices as an effective coping mechanism for dealing with life stresses and develop resilience. Engaging in religious rituals, seeking support from faith communities, finding meaning through spiritual beliefs, provide women with emotional and psychological tools to navigate the challenges of their life. So, there are certainly some limitations of this study, and negative religious coping, as I spoke about it, certainly doesn't help them to bounce back in life. There is an over reliance on religion. Sometimes we see that the women over rely, they don't want to take um, um, uh, work on their um, the stress, the trauma that they are going through, but they just want to rely on the religious coping. There is a conflict between with mental health approaches because some of the religious practices don't allow them to seek help outside. So there is a risk of inadequate support because not the religious practitioners are the people who can provide them the psychological and the medical and the social help that is needed. There is a risk of avoidance and escape, and one thing that men are not included in this. So the key takeaway, as I would said, that by this small research study, what I tried to do, I contribute to the growing understanding of how mental health care can be tailored to respect and integrate individuals' religious and spiritual beliefs, thereby providing more personalized care, effective intervention at the time of coping with life stresses. Certainly, being coming from a mental health professional background, I certainly feel that it has to be there. But what I encourage that mental health professional to think beyond these traditional clinical models, recognizing the importance of integrating spiritual coping mechanism into the mental health care to meet the diverse need of clients. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is all for me, and I'm sure I have tried my best to finish it in time. And any questions, please feel free to ask. And thank you so much for all those who have joined and being part of this study. And any questions I would love to answer. And if we are lacking time, then I will certainly respond it later.
That was a very interactive session, Dr. Shamalal. We have few questions from our audience. How can positive psychology improve children's mental well-being in education?
Positive psychology. See, one simple answer: the happier the child is, obviously his performance is better. If you feel the child is anxious, upset, sad, lonely, doesn't have friends, and so many things, bullying and so on, certainly his performance is not better. So, what is more important is how to keep your child happy, and what are the sources of his unhappiness has to be dealt with.
Thank you so much. We loved the way you interacted with our audience, and maybe that was a very informative session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. We have further sessions for today, so could you please join them too?